Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you all have an amazing day. We're starting off with the white pieces against a 1913 from Indonesia. I recognise the flag this time. We have another Philidor. Wow, it seems like every single time we get to play as white, it's a blooming Philidor. I have no clue what is happening. By the way, Bishop G4 is a very interesting line. You're trading off your bishop straight away, and you're almost trading off your queen as well, because if takes. And I don't think this is a terrible pawn structure. If anything, it opens up some lines for us. I wouldn't want to play this as black. Just say, like, I wouldn't want to play this as black. It doesn't seem like you're fighting for a win at all. Yeah, I mean, that's about it, really. I'm going to go rook g1 here. They've made a weakness on g6. And they're going to have to live with it. Yeah, and as simple as that, really. I'm going to also think about a knight d5 with the idea of trying to get them to play c6. And just limiting the squares for this knight, I think, is a good idea. These are the sort of positions I like. Where there's literally not much happening and you have to make the most out of every single little positional error, and try drum up tactics on the fly, basically. I really enjoy playing these sorts of games. I think they're really, really fun. It sounds so lame and so boring, but I do think they are really, really fun. We're obviously going to long castle here. Bishop e3 was my go-to for a while. I was considering bishop d2 to avoid these checks. Maybe the knight wants to be on e3. I'm not quite sure. And there we go. We've made the weakness. If the bishop comes along, we can long castle with check. And this is almost English rat sort of territory. And we know how sort of dangerous that can be. But it's, I think, is different because we are so much more developed than them. I think, yeah, the changes are worth it in my opinion. We're going to long castle because where else are we going to castle? Realistically, we can get this bishop on h3. That's going to be a minor nuisance for them. We can try do an f4 push. I'm not sure how valid of a break that is. Worst case, like takes, you're left with a backwards f pawn. Not the best, I don't think. Not the best. We can try for a bishop c4. Is interesting. Choosing which diagonal to go for is a good sort of thing to think about because it does have long-term effects. And if they go b4 here, I'm more than happy to go knight e2. I think. It's much more active on that square. They go for this kingside push. Okay, is all I'm going to sort of say to that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Do we go a4 or a3 is the question. Could also potentially go bishop e6. A bit of a riskier one, I will say. But also not horrible. Not horrible at all. Can we get hit easily? We can't really get hit. I don't see why we can't go to e6 then. In fact, let's just waste a move and go rook d2. Rook d2. Rook d1. Look for the bishop. And then we can do rook e6 with a tempo from their a4. I think this is fine. We can go knight b1 if we're that scared about defending. I think our development is slightly more important, to be honest. Yeah, basically. We can think about a rook g1 here with the idea of takes. I don't think that gets us anywhere, though, which is a shame. We can go knight e2 and still look for this. I don't think that's the plan, though. They're playing so much on the king side. Or queen side, I should say, actually. I don't think it's smart to get your knight to the other side of the board. Rook G to D1. Takes, king B1. Doesn't seem right. I think knight B1's fine. It's probably not ideal, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's smart to be aware of their attack. Not that it is much of an attack with 3 of their pieces being undeveloped. Yeah, basically, I think that's it. If this knight goes, we have serious threats of, like we saw there, of rook to d7 winning this knight potentially. I like a lot. I'll just say that. But the rook comes in and everything seems okay for them. We can consider like a c3. I don't know what that gets us. We can consider a b3, but then our knight's sort of getting trapped in after a3. A3 doesn't really work because bishop takes. A bit of a stinker. So I think c3 is going to be the way to go here. I think it's going to be the way to go. Knight comes, I'd probably consider a trade. Either that or potentially even rook takes. I don't think rook takes, though, works, which is a shame. And this bishop's a pain, I think, for them. You know, they're not able to double up. And the king can't get any closer, really. Ooh. Rook b8's interesting. I think we can take that. Can we take that? No, knight takes surely sucks, right? Have we got a bishop c4? Takes. Is interesting. Knight takes, surely. Knight there. Knight there. Seems fine. That's very interesting. Oh, we have a bishop a7, right? No, I think bishop c4's right. I like it. He's making threats. Knight there. We probably just take and trade off rooks. We've got to be a bit careful of this f pawn, but a lot of our pawns are locked on light squares, which I think is good. We need to get this knight in the game, so we're looking potentially for a b takes. Would be okay, especially with this loose a pawn. We would consider a b3 push if they decide to push. Yeah. So we'll go knight takes here. And this rook is covering the b pawn as well, which is good. It's a shame this bishop's no longer here because now they can do this and we don't have rook d7. Rook takes, we win the knight. Is a bit of a shame, but okay, you know, that's the way it is. The knight comes in, probably king b1. I don't know if we can afford to ignore that or not. That's a question worth asking. Knight takes a5 is a risky one because they would potentially have a rook a8. And they get both the rooks on this file. It's not nice. This king is remarkably safe. And this is what is sort of key about the English rat sort of structure. Is that this king is annoyingly safe. And it's very hard to break open the queen side. And yeah, it's just annoying. What have we got? What tactics have we got? We need some tactics, I think. Is a rook c2 playable? Probably not with a knight b4. It's potentially okay actually to take this pawn, right? Knight there, bishop check is so interesting. Takes. And then you've got a takes train. Wow. I think we can actually take that, which is insane. I think we can just take that. Oh, it's a risky one. It's a risky one, that. But this threat of bishop b6, and if the rook moves along, we just take this bishop as well. So I think we're good. If this knight's still loose, like it's tied, this rook's tied to the defense of this a knight, which I think is good for us. So yeah, yeah. I think just this bishop and knight working together is too strong. It's too strong. The rook moves up. We can go back to a6, e6. Sorry, I don't know my letters and numbers. At which point we have the same tactic, which is good. Yeah, I think we're happy. Remarkably. Everything just seems okay. Like they've moved this to b8 just to move it back to a8. Seems like a bit of a waste. Really, you had a decent attack coming with some knight maneuvers. They cover that in an interesting way. I do quite like that. Do we have a bishop e6 here? Potentially. And that is also covering this bishop as well, which is quite nice. I think bishop e6 works. I don't know if they've got any tricks. Knight there is interesting. Very, very interesting. We could also just go here. Knight takes, king takes, rook takes. But I don't like the position that's leaving us in. That's a clever move. I like that a lot. It's not an easy one to spot either, I don't think. Yeah. We could go a3 and just try to limit their play. And just ask the question, what are you actually doing? They can't really go many places. They could actually go d7. Knight there takes. Rook there is annoying. So I think bishop e6 is the way to play this. We could also go here, rook c2. But this knight again is annoying. So we'll go bishop e6. I don't know if this actually does anything or not, but it's making questions. I think it's making questions, which is, in this position, I think is an important thing to do. You want your opponent not sort of knowing how to react, basically. Yeah. We can think about takes. They have takes. Nah. We can think about knight c3 and try to have these threats back on the table. I think it's a safer way to play it, personally. I think is the safer way to play it. This bishop is actually covering a2 though, which begs the question: is b3 can't work because then you're not covering a2. Yeah, I think we have to move this knight back. It's a shame. We're running low on time as well, so we can't afford to be using this much time. The rook's disconnected from b8, which is good, and they are struggling to move it, to be honest. Struggling to move it to any valid square, I should probably say. a3 I think is a good idea. Then knight goes back and we can start to make some questions again, with maybe even knight a4 again is very interesting. We really do need to speed up. Our time control's been poor, I will say, the last couple episodes. We went with a3, no thinking, no time for thinking, and then a4 is back on the table with two pieces blocking, by the way. And questions, again, there's questions that need to be answered. A lot of questions. What those questions are, I'm still working out, but it looks like there's questions. What the... That doesn't seem right, surely. That does not seem right at all. What? Oh, they throw in a curveball here. Okay, let's go rook c2. Let's go rook c2. That's a curveball. I wasn't expecting that one bit. Yeah, wow. We can just take that, right? We can just take that. I think that's fine. Free pawn, question mark? A big question mark as well. I don't know what's happening. We've got 42 seconds. It's going to be all reactions and trades. Unfortunately, we're not going to have much time to figure things out. But it's doable. I think it's doable. Especially if we simplify like now. If we hesitate with the simplification, things get complicated. I think we trade off this rook, by the way. First, after bishop takes. Then rook takes, we have like a bishop d5. They're sort of forced to simplify, I think, which is good. They can't avoid it. We also have rook takes bishop there, is very interesting. With the fork, after that. Oh, our pre-move was slow there. It was slow. Rook takes bishop. King takes is probably their best move. Knight takes? Oh, that's why. Oh, but we have this intermezzo of bishop there. That's nice. That's nice. 33 seconds to save the world. Whew, it's a close one, folks. It's a close one. They go for it. We have the two passes. Can we promote in time? That's the question. We're moving king up. And we take off the knight whenever we can. I think we've got this. 28 seconds. There could be some pre-move traps in here, so we've got to be very, very careful. We have to be very, very careful. Depends where the king goes. We go either a4 or c4. That's fine. It's fine. We promote this pawn then. They can't really stop it. And we get the queen. That was I think the worst thing they could have done in time trouble, is make things easy for me. Yeah, let's go there. Let's go there. Take that is annoying, but then we probably just push this pawn, right? Probably just push this pawn. I don't think they're in time to stop it, which is good. Yeah. We ignore that. And we get this with check. Perfect. Then we get this with check. Surely there's a mate in here. You go there, there. Checkmate. Boom! Very nice. Oh, that was close. That was too close. I don't... Oh, this time control. It's hard. Yeah, that was a good game to look through, though. C5 was where they went wrong. I think we were slightly better for a while, and the computer agrees. We got a slight advantage, struggled to sort of hold it, and then the clear advantage. 81.1 versus 72.2. 2050 versus 1600. Yeah, Philidor. With this bishop g4 line, which I see a lot, and it's not a thing, I don't think. It's just a bad Philidor. If you want to play the English rat sort of structure, play the English rat. Like, there's nothing else to it, really. Maybe you're struggling unless I actually play C4, I guess. So it might be one way to get around that. I'm not quite sure the logic behind it. But yeah, you just take. Apparently taking is not even good. You play C3 is the way to play it. Still sort of fine, though. And queen takes is slightly better. Trading off the queens. And you've got to be comfortable playing this position. It's going to be a very slow game. You're looking for long-term weaknesses. Which is why I guess queen takes is the better move, because you're not creating this weakness on the king side. You can castle king side safely and just continue developing, I guess, is the reasoning. But trading off queens is fine. You know, we make threats on their weak pieces. That's all you're doing in this sort of game. You're looking for their weaknesses, and you're making your pieces hit those weaknesses. Apparently, this is better than that. F6, I don't see what, like, it's similar results, surely. But I guess you're, again, just limiting their piece activity, because they can't go knight F6. They have to go F6. I guess knight there is playable, but then it's a bit misplaced with these two pawns here. So maybe just the bishop blocks, and then long castles seems good. Yeah, I mean, it looks nice, and the computer agrees. So I'm not sure what the best response to bishop check is. Maybe just move the king. F6. What's the best? Move the king to E8. Oh no, that's not nice. That's not nice. F6. Weird move to play, I guess. And this was the whole point of D5, I think. Well, it was our idea. Apparently the computer's fine with it. We wanted to get C6 to stop their knight, but it turns out the C7 square, like we know from the English rat, is very solid, actually, and quite hard to infiltrate. So we long castle. It's the only way you're playing, basically. There's no other option. And it does prefer the bishop on the H3 diagonal. You're doing the same thing as when you were on E6, but you're a lot safer. And they don't get all these pushes with tempo as well, which is nicer. B4, blunder, because we can just take this. Duh, I'm not sure why I didn't see that. I saw that idea for a while. I was like, it doesn't work, ever. This is the moment it works. And you just get 2 free pawns, basically, and go on to hopefully win the game. We let them do this and kick us to E6. Apparently A4 is the way to play it, which I sort of felt, but also, like, potentially you're weakening your king safety a bit. I'm not sure. And the computer's gone back to sort of equality here, and we felt that. We were definitely fighting for an advantage. B4 seems too soon, especially when you don't have your rooks on the attacking files. It gives me a chance to be a bit safe. And knight E2 is the actual way to play it, with the F4 push eventually, I'm guessing. Yeah, rather than B1. But hey, you know, everything worked out in the end, I guess. The rook's over is very safe. We played C3 instead of A3, which apparently is fine. Doesn't seem fine to me. Just saying. But yeah, Fez. Fez. The rook moves over. There's no reason why you do this. You've got to secure your bishop, but it's this rook that wants to go on the B file, surely. So if you can find a way to secure this bishop, definitely you want to leave room for the D rook to come in rather than the A rook. This knight meant to go here, apparently. Looking for God knows what, just hitting the bishop, I guess. Bishop back to H3, maybe. And then this, A3, I'm guessing. And potentially you're looking for a bishop takes. Is a potential idea. I'm not quite sure. A takes B looks horrible. Yeah, I'm not sure what the idea is. Takes Surely not. That's fine. How? Please explain to me how that's fine. And then that. I hate it. I hate it so much. That's so scary. I don't like it one bit. But apparently you are completely fine here as white. Wow, that's insane. Bishop c4, we drop back this way. And then knight takes. Then they move their rook back to a8, which is a good move because it's misplaced on b8. But you just see how much you've wasted the move. Knight c8's a brilliant move. I really, really like this defensive idea. You're covering the b6 square. You're covering the bishop. So you're free to move this rook. Not that it can actually get to b8 at the minute, though. And potentially you're freeing your king a bit as well, which is really nice. Apparently you just take the knight here. Is the line. Oh, when you play this pin, looking for e6, and if they can't go there. That's a discovered attack, so they have to go back. At which point the knight's hanging. So what do you actually do here? Oh, they just go for the exchange. Wow, that's insane. That's beautiful. Knight takes, we go knight back. And then we just go knight back to a4. Once we've fixed our defensive problems, we just go back, straight back. And then c5 is where it all falls apart. It all falls apart. We didn't have time, unfortunately, to look at it properly. Knight c3 again is the way to play it. Because there are so many more holes in their defense now, they've not got the luxury of the c6 pawn covering these two squares. So it's just way more flexible. We go rook c2 with some sort of loose pin ideas, I guess. Get the pawn, trade the rooks off. Apparently this is an inaccuracy. Why is it an inaccuracy? I don't know, to be honest. Oh, king takes. Takes. Then what? Knight there hitting the bishop. Bishop goes there. Rook moves. And then, I don't know. It's an inaccuracy though. Sure. King takes, yeah, king takes is better because you've not got the weakness of the knight as well to deal with. Or it comes with check, sorry. And then they had this move. And we played bishop d5 to get out of this because it's a double attack on your bishop and rook. Apparently the move is to play c8, which is a bit more forcing. But hey, this is very similar. They decide to take our rook, at which point we take their rook. They needed to get this knight out. If they get this knight out, it's so much more tricky because they can potentially target my backward pawns. And it's, yeah, it's still winning for me because these are just unbeatable, basically. But they provide a lot more resistance, basically, especially in low time. They allow me to get my bishop onto d5, which I did eventually. Gosh, that was too slow. And you can see now this knight's completely boxed in. Wherever it goes, I'm just going to take it. They go f5 to try free up their knight, but then they just give me a pass pawn, which is nasty. And I can just get my king involved eventually. They're just sort of shuffling until the time comes where I promote a pawn or they sack it for the knight, basically. And yeah, this is just knight, and you can see now this knight's just late to the party. You know, I can give them all the pawns they want on that side. They've given me too much, unfortunately. We could have just promoted the pawn here as well. I'm not sure why I decided to do that. I guess I was worried about this H pawn, but it really does not matter at all. And then just checkmate on g7. Really nice game. It's good to win one after a couple tough ones, a couple tough games. I'm not gonna beat around the bush, but yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked, please subscribe if you really liked, and I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Bye bye.